God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on a telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now.
Listen to the top where the little bird sings, and the melodies and the high notes ringing, and the hood owl cries over everything, and the blackbird disagrees.
Singing in the night time, singing in the day, when the little duck quacks and he's on his way, and the otter hasn't got much to say, and the porcupine talks to himself.
All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now.
Dogs and the cats, they take up the middle, where the honeybee hums and the cricket fiddles, the donkey brays and the pony neighs, the old grey badger sighs.
Listen to the bass, it's the one on the bottom, where the bullfrog croaks and the hippopotamus moans and groans with the big to-do, and the old cow just goes moo.
All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. It's a simple song, a little song everywhere, by the ox and the fox and the grizzly bear, the dopey alligator and the hawk above, the sly old weasel and the turtle dove. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir.
What a great song that is to start our worship this morning, reminding us that we all have a place in the choir of humanity, in the choir of creation. It's always a beautiful day in the neighborhood of Valley Unitarian Universalists, and I am Fred Wooden, your interim minister, but wherever you are, whether you're joining us in this sanctuary or whether you are at home on Zoom or you're watching on YouTube, you're part of the neighborhood. And we all have a voice to bring to the occasion, whether we can hear it in our ears or only in our hearts. We are in Chandler, Arizona, but we are also in Tempe or Mesa. We are in Michigan and North Dakota. However distant, for this time we are close. Coming to renew our faith, hope, and love in this challenging world. Words, though, only get your attention, to arouse your hearts, to soothe your souls and make you ready for the time of worship. We need music, so I'm going to ask Sue Keene to welcome us in with music this morning.
Good morning. My name is Barbara, and I'm honored to serve as the lay presence in the pulpit today. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words as Reverend Wooden lights our chalice. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love which calls us to work for justice.
An honor to be with you via video. In today's service, we have heard and will hear more live music played on our grand piano by our beloved member, Sue Keene. Thank you, Sue, for blessing us with your music and your talents today. We will also hear an African American traditional hymn and a popular song written by an African American singer-songwriter in honor of Black History Month. In fact, throughout February, we will be especially intentional to enjoy and highlight music written and performed by great African Americans. But first, let's join together in song, in heart, and in our minds, singing our opening hymn, Come, Sing a Song With Me, by Carolyn McDade. It's number 346 in our gray hymnal. Due to COVID safety measures, we ask that if you are in person and in our sanctuary, that you limit your singing to a hum. And if you are online, well, please join in singing. So come sing a song with me, so that we may know our minds and grow deeper in fellowship together.
Good morning, everyone. I am Marcy Bodwin, your Director of Faith Formation here at Valley UU. Today we say goodbye to our Faith Formation assistant, Haley Wynn. 3 years ago, this past November, I was fortunate to hire Haley as our assistant. She was clear about her future goals: finish her undergraduate degree, then straight into a Master of Social Work program with the possibility of law school after that. And law school is still an option for her. Over these 3 years, I have tried several times to talk her into a full-time career in religious education. Not working out, I think. In addition to working on lessons and the Time for All Ages books and finding supplies, Haley has volunteered with our refugee team and still volunteers at our International Refugee Center in Phoenix. She stepped up and produced our happenings when we were between administrators a couple of times. While I know that some of her tasks were a bit simplistic, like, cutting out paper leaves and cutting fruit for fruit chalices, I hope that I and we have taught Haley a few things during her time at VUU. Things like, what is a Unitarian Universalist? Can you make religious education classes fun for a second grader? And when should you use Elmer's glue instead of a glue stick? But it has been a two-way street. We worked together a lot, and Haley filled roles, I knew I was going to do this, that were not found in her job description. She was my second set of hands when a job was too big. She was additional gray matter when it took two of us to puzzle out a problem. She was my sounding board when I worked through a dilemma. And she was support when things got challenging around here, just a few times. She will be missed, but I have no doubt that I will be able to find another faith formation assistant, but Haley is irreplaceable. Thank you for giving us these 3 years, and our families would like to say thank you also. After that, Haley will have a word for us, and then we'll meet the children in the back. So our video, please.
Congratulations, Haley! It has been such a joy knowing you, and we wish you all the best. Much love from the Seifert family. Mwah. You're gonna rock it.
Bye, Miss Haley. It's been fun working with you. We'll miss you. Have fun. We'll miss you. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Haley. We'll miss you. I hope that you have good luck. I hope you have fun at your new job.
Thank you, Miss Haley.
Hey, Haley. We're so sad to hear you go, and we want to wish you best of luck in your next adventure. I think the world of you. Every interaction we've ever had has just been so wonderfully positive. So good luck, and hopefully you'll come back and visit us. We'll be here. Take care. Bye.
Ready and go.
Bye, Haley.
Thank you. Good luck.
Bye, Haley. We'll miss you. Good luck.
Thank you for everything you've done. We're really going to miss you. I'm really going to miss you. I really liked all you've done for us. Good luck with what you do next, and we are all going to miss you.
Say bye, Miss Haley.
Bye, Miss Haley.
Congratulations, Haley. Good luck. We'll miss you.
Have fun at your new job, Haley. I'm going to miss you. I hope that your job will be fun and very radical.
Hey Haley, it's Alexandra Escobar. I just wanted to wish you the best. Congratulations on completing your master's and the new job. I know you're going to be great wherever you go. Thanks for all you've done for our family, for the kindness that you've always shown me, Jose, Juan, and Isabella, and you'll be missed. Hugs.
Miss Haley, it's been fun working with you. Good luck on your new adventure. We will miss you. Stay safe. From Maylee. Bye. Hi, Miss Haley. We miss you. We appreciate what you've done. Yeah, appreciate you done.
Bye-bye, Miss Haley. The next time we go to church, you deserve a lollipop.
Bye, Miss Haley.
I could have ruined it a little, Mama.
Goodbye. Thank you for everything that you've done. Good luck.
Bye, Haley. We'll miss you.
Hi, Haley. We just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for us at VUU.
Thank you, Miss Haley. Good luck.
Goodbye, Haley. We'll miss you. Thanks for everything that you've done for us.
Have fun at your new job, Haley. We'll miss you so much. I love you. Bye. You're the best.
Bye, Haley. We'll miss you. We wish you all the best.
I was not expecting that. Thank you so much. I don't really love public speaking. That's obviously been evident over the years. But hi, my name is Haley. For those of you who clearly know at this point, I've been the Faith Formation Assistant here at Valley Unitarian Universalist for the past 3 years. For the past 6 years, 3 of which I spent here, I received my bachelor's degree in social work, and I'm now obtaining my master's degree in social work as well. When I first started college, I was a business major. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and my parents suggested that perhaps my extroverted nature could lend towards some sort of marketing skills or ability. I quickly discovered that business meant math, and that I needed to take quite a few math courses, and given the fact that I had to take already 3 remedial math courses before I could enter into a regular math class, I figured business wasn't going to be for me. So I took a social work course as an elective, and out of curiosity, seriously, if anyone could define social work, figuring out that definition is just as difficult as the job itself. But it was where I felt noticed for the first time. An adolescent, I often felt talentless with nothing tangible under my belt like sports or academics, but in that class I had a gift. I had this unwavering and intense understanding of people, and of course, I understood people's desires to be in social work to help children or to find ways to feed the houseless, but I wanted to work with people in ways that were not readily answerable. I never looked at people's behavior as one-dimensional, and perhaps at times in my personal life this was a little bit detrimental, but professionally, this has been to my benefit. So trauma and its daily occurrences was where I found the lights had turned on, something had clicked, and there was fire on all cylinders. Besides the work I did here, I was also deepening my knowledge of trauma and social work in many different settings, including work with hospice, research for the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice, advocacy within the US Senate, asylum seeker and refugee aid, and now my most current placement, trauma counseling. As I move forward from here and from my education, I hope to continue my work as a therapist specializing in trauma. Valley Unitarian Universalist has been a landing spot for me for the past 3 years, and I've spent many afternoons and late nights in the office prepping Sunday school classes, researching Time for All Ages books, and editing curriculum. I was able to work incredibly flexible hours thanks to my wonderful boss, Marcy, and I was also able to work with many wonderful families and get to know many wonderful congregants. It was actually here at VUU I started my work with asylum seekers and refugees. I got to work with an amazing group of people, and we were able to coordinate the stay and care for a short period of time for those entering this country. It was here at VUU I grew up as a child, and it was also here at VUU where I entered a portion of my adulthood. Not only did I obtain professional skills, but I also experienced a spiritual reckoning, if you will. I acquired a lot of new understandings of myself. That is more than I could ask for from any job, and it has all been thanks to you wonderful folks here at VUU, and for that I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I got to meet and work with a wonderful staff as well. But most of all, I'm most grateful I got to re-meet and work side by side with my boss. Marcy's been a wonderful confidant and a second mother to me, and she's truly one of the main reasons why I loved working here. So thank you, Marcy, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Haley. How does one follow that? I don't know. Good morning and welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist congregation and this sacred space. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone who is present with us today, including those of you in person as well as those of you who are viewing online. Thank you so much for joining us today, and let this time together be a way to let go of barriers and walls, and instead to honor diversity in all its forms, and to welcome everyone without judgment and with curiosity and compassion. Wherever you are on your life's journey, we bid you welcome. And we are always delighted to greet guests among us. While it is entirely voluntary for anyone visiting today in the sanctuary, we invite you to stand as you are able so that we may greet you now and after the service. Any visitors or guests like to stand? Thank you so much. Welcome. And for those of you online who may be visiting with us today, please feel free to raise your little emoji hand so that we can greet you. You could also use the chat, I suppose, but I just wanted to say your hand emoji. And here in person, there will be a welcome circle that gathers outside if you're curious to know more about Unitarian Universalism and VUU. So you can just look for the welcome circle sign and Miss Nancy Nielsen. And if you're online, you can just decline the chat invitation, stay in the main room, and you'll be joined by Reverend Fred, and you can ask questions then. Wherever you are, you can find out more information about VUU. And that we're a vibrant community and have lots of stuff going on. Valley UU is pleased also to welcome our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and want you to know from our hearts that all of who you are is sacred and all of who you are is welcome. National Black HIV AIDS Awareness Day takes place tomorrow on February 7th. The first National Black HIV AIDS Awareness Day was marked in 1999 as a grassroots education effort to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS prevention, care, and treatment in communities of color. And if the service brings up emotions for you and you would like to talk to somebody about it, we do have pastoral care associates available. Our pastoral care associate in person today is Dan Schulte. Dan's in the back. Thank you, Dan. He'll be waiting for you at the very front of the sanctuary, and there is a private place for you to speak. Our online pastoral care associate is Carl Anderson, and he'll be available on Zoom immediately following the service as well. And you can send him a chat message, and then you would be able to be in a breakout room that's private. Our lay pastoral care associates are also available via email during the week, and that email is pastoralcare@vuu.org. And for those of you here in the sanctuary, there is a comfort room where you can take someone who needs a time out, little or big, and it's soundproofed so you won't miss anything of the service. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Here we are on this beautiful Sunday morning. In our pulpit today is our interim minister, the Reverend Dr. Fred Wooden, and the title of his sermon is Peekaboo, I See You, which is part of a sermon series called Secrets Your Minister Never Told You, or What It Is Like to Be a Minister, What Clergy Go Through. And our Touchstones theme for this month is power. Touchstones is a monthly journal of Unitarian Universalism. You can find a link for all the monthly journals on our website in the Resources tab and in our weekly digital newsletter called The Happenings. Turns out, power is a compelling spiritual topic that many spiritual leaders have addressed. Gandhi, for example, used the term satyagraha, which in Sanskrit means loosely holding on to truth or truth force. Gandhi used it to illustrate a particular form of nonviolent resistance or civil resistance. Thich Nhat Hanh taught about soft bodhisattva and fierce bodhisattva, and believed that both types of power are available and relevant. It just depends on the situation. I witnessed soft bodhisattva in my mother at the end of her life. I didn't think about it at the time, but it seems to me she had let go of her angry, fierce way of being, the mother I grew up with, and transitioned to a soft bodhisattva. So how did she embody that soft bodhisattva? Well, as a result of a genetic disability, she lost her able-bodiedness slowly over the course of time, but eventually she wasn't able to speak verbally. She lived in a group home for elders and sat in a recliner in the front room near the front door every single day. And when visitors for other residents arrived, she would give a wave and her charming, irresistible smile and invite them to sit next to her. Then she would listen intently, smiling and nodding, as they told her the stories of their lives. After she passed, some of those visitors who attended her service commented about her vibrancy and how much they learned from her. They were completely surprised to find out that she couldn't speak at all and didn't know their names. But they realized that she knew their spirit, and that's what mattered. Such is this power of the soft bodhisattva, not a power over, instead, a power of just being with another without judgment, but with tenderness and kindness and love. I never thought I would describe my mother as a bodhisattva, let alone a soft bodhisattva, but there it is, a kind of satyagraha. Welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Blessed be all you soft bodhisattvas out there.
Well, the new year isn't new anymore. We're into a whole other month. We're officially halfway through winter, and if that mattered in Arizona, just record that. We had a discussion this morning over whether it is freezing, and we reached the conclusion that freezing can be either descriptive of the world or of your mood. To a Michiganian like me, it's not freezing. It is cold. But freezing involves the solidification of water, and that has not happened around here. Perspective matters. Is the year new or is it old? Does it even matter when it began? Some people will say the new year will start in the spring. Some will say it starts in the fall, in the middle of the winter. We could find a New Year's celebration, as Marcy has observed, almost any time in the year. But it doesn't really matter. That's just where you put the numbers. It's where you decide to start and start over. But every Sunday is an opportunity to push the reset button. We look back on the week and say, well, didn't do that perfectly, let's try again. Every Sabbath, every week, every seventh day, we get to stand back and look for just a moment and say, where am I and where am I going? That's because, as Emerson observed, eternity is too much for our human minds to grasp, so God, in his mercy, according to Emerson, divided it up into days and weeks so we could handle it. The work of this community is like that. It is ever present, and every Sunday it begins again. And what has this to do with the offering? To remind us that every week we make that commitment again. You don't make it once a year, or even once you sign the membership book. Every week you ask yourself, am I willing to continue to work so that I can free my mind and grow my soul and change the world? Am I willing to be faithful to the hope that doesn't come true? Am I capable of working on tasks that never seem to end? And when you put something on the plate, you say yes. But you don't have to put it in the actual plate, although that will be passed in just a moment here in the sanctuary. If you are watching, or if you want to go home and do this, you can text, you can click, you can call, you can write, you can drop by. Because what you give at that moment is your promise to make this week happen. That is your offering message for today. And now I'm going to lead us into a centering time, and while the music from our centering time takes place, our ushers will pass the plate among you. So Jim, give me a minute or so to set up the centering, and then as the music comes up, then we can pass the plate in the room. And if you're wondering at home and you're not here, when should I start giving? Now would be good. But at any time. Anytime. So, centering. Why do we have this moment called centering? Well, among Unitarian Universalists who bring a variety of spiritual languages to the room, centering has that meaning that in other places might be called prayer or meditation. When we try to gather up the fragments in here, gather up the pieces of our lives that scatter through the week, and say, where am I today? We all have to do that from time to time. Gather up the pieces. And so centering is when we remember to do the things on purpose that we do by habit, like breathing. It is said that when you take a deep breath, it actually stimulates the vagus nerve to tell you to calm down. It's a reminder that your body is talking to you. That just showing up still counts. That in the end, it is our presence that matter, not the presents we give or receive. And so bringing our hearts to the present, our bodies to the moment, we allow ourselves to breathe, to listen, to be, And as Sue Keene plays the music, we will keep our centeredness. But if the plate comes by, do add a little something. Sue. A prayerful word is always welcome, though. And in this case, I want to lift up something you didn't see, but I did, because I'm sitting way back here looking that way. So our two ushers were passing the plate back and forth, and way in the back, Beverly McCormick is holding up her check and doing this. And our two ushers, so intent on making sure they visit every one of you, didn't see her. Now, that's not a comment on their not seeing her, any more than it's a comment on Beverly, who is doing this. In fact, when the two gentlemen were done, one of them turned around and saw Beverly, who was already coming toward them like this. And it's not about the money. And why is this about prayer? Because every prayer is a wave. I'm over here. Do you see me? We often hear it said these days that people who live in marginal communities, meaning those that are on the periphery of power, speaking of power, Barbara, want to be seen, not looked past, avoided, overlooked. A prayer is a petition to be seen. I'm over here. Do you see me? Do you see me? Not just my skin, my gender, my location, me. So it's about more than seeing. It's about acknowledgement. I've been with you now for almost a year and a half. And before you were faces with no names, and then you were names and faces, and more you are names and faces and stories, and slowly I'm beginning to see you. You. Every prayer is a prayer to be seen. I see you. Wave if you must. Stand. Sing. Extend your arms. Pray with your whole bodies, and you will be seen. I see you. I see you. We have music as you contemplate the prayer of being seen. And funnily enough, it is, I can see clearly now. Let's get Katie to introduce that for us.
Johnny Nash was a singer, songwriter, actor, and producer. Nash became the first African American with a regular appearance on Houston television. Impressively, Nash was just 13 when he out-earned his chauffeur father's weekly $60 paychecks with a role on KPRC TV's variety show called Matinee. Nash was born in 1940 in Texas and took his last breath surrounded by family in 2020. Although Nash was a Texan, many pegged him as a Jamaican because he was among the first artists to bring Jamaican reggae to the United States. Nash recorded his million-selling 1972 album, I Can See Clearly Now, while also producing tracks for Bob Marley and the Wailers, a then unknown group he had signed to his own label, JAD. Nash is most recognized for his #1 hit single, I Can See Clearly Now, a song about overcoming hard times. Last week, as a congregation, we got to take a look behind the scenes on what it takes to put on a worship service. And in a minute, we will hear Reverend Fred share secrets ministers never share. May we continue to learn and see more clearly as we get closer to choosing a new minister. May we be inspired that we too will see a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Please sing along or hum or simply enjoy Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly Now.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see old obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had made me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright and sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright and sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright and sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see old obstacles in my way. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright,
there's something you need to know, that I am not the shiny star in my family. You see me in front of the pulpit, you think, oh, I recognize him. Yeah, you do. But the shiny one, the sparkly one, that's my wife. She is perhaps the best school teacher on the planet. I will go to the mat on that one. I have watched her teach over the years. And I know this because even when she was a volunteer and was no longer getting paid, they always invited her to take a job for pay after she'd done it for a while. I've never been offered a job for volunteering to be a minister. I've been offered to get another job while a minister. But I've never been asked to take a job for volunteering. In her world, which I was delighted to take part in because as a clergy person, I can sometimes find time to be in a classroom. In her world, I was the trailing spouse, the backstop, the background, and it was great. I was always astonished by the miracles she could perform. But there are times when other things would happen that reminded me of my life. So I'm starting with a story about her, but it will be about me, which will be about you. Okay? We were grocery shopping at one point years ago, and we went down an aisle, and there in the aisle was a family from her school with children she taught. Mom trying to corral the youngsters, only looking up when we were getting close, and there was my wife, Wendy, and she said with her teacherly smile, "Hello, kids, how are you?" And they looked up, and they were gobsmacked, frozen in place. For a split second, they didn't recognize her, then they did. It took the mom saying, "Look, kids, it's Miss Wendy from school," to confirm that it was, in fact, their teacher here in the grocery store. And even so, they were slightly confused. How could their teacher be here in the store? The only time they ever saw her was in the school, and they probably assumed that that's where she lived. After all, she was there when they arrived, and she was there when they left. Think of what it would be like to see Santa shopping at the Walmart. Very disconcerting. Wendy realized this, of course, this not having been the only time it happened, and maintained her teacher's voice and smile, and said, "See you in school," and we parted. Now, we expect those reactions from children when they see something incongruous to their experience, but it happens to grown-ups too. My last church broadcast its services on local cable, and that's why I did not expect, when I was in a food store, this time with Wendy, picking up various pieces of meat, this is before I was vegetarian, hovering over the counter in my sweatshirt and my blue jeans, to have a person come up to me and say, "Are you Fred Wooden?" My brain said, "Who wants to know?" But I was sane enough to say yes. She introduced herself as someone who watched on TV. Of course, I don't see who's watching. "I wasn't sure it was you," she said, "especially without the suit and tie." I was going to add, "and the sanctuary and the choir." But I said, "Sorry," and tried to look appreciative. She was not frozen, obviously, but she was rather nonplussed to see her TV preacher in the food store. And frankly, I was nonplussed to know there was a group of people out there who knew me that I did not know at all. Small as VUU is compared to my last church, and large as Phoenix is compared to my city of Grand Rapids. Even here, whenever I leave my apartment, I put on my teacher face, my preacher face. For I have learned over the years, time and again, that whenever I am visible, I am working. This month I'm going to share some of the secrets of clergy life, not because they're secrets you shouldn't know, but because it's how we clergy experience our work, and it's thus rather subjective. I can do that because I am out of here in a few months, and I can be more honest than any preacher who's here for a long time. But I will say that I have shared these ideas with other congregations in the past, and they have never liked them. And part of the reason is they want to know that their preacher is their preacher and not a person. But being the interim, I can show a little ankle that others could not. That's an old reference. If you don't know what it means, go look it up. While serving in Austin, Texas, Wendy was not a teacher at that time, but she was very active in the community, especially for our older son, Aaron, who was in a Cub Scout pack. Now, I pitched in from time to time, but again, stood in the background because she was a den mother and had the uniform and had the shiny appearance of someone who knew what she was doing. So I handed out the snacks, I collected the trash, and I stood in the background, which was where I wanted to be and where I could do my best work. Now, unbeknownst to me, there happened to be a member of that pack who was a friend of a member of my church. The connection was not known to me or to the person in the pack because the woman in the church had a baby and wanted me to do the dedication. And she invited her friends to come, including this family. And so they came to church. And they came for the dedication, but they stayed for the whole service. And when it came time for the sermon, this woman saw a totally different person. You may have observed that from time to time I'm fairly expressive in the pulpit. I've used my hands. I move. I smile. You must remember the only person she ever saw was a dull as dirt dad handing out water bottles. She was gobsmacked. As I recall, she went up to Wendy and said, "Is that really Fred?" I am not two different people, but I did not know that I was a different person to different people. We live in an era where image is more powerful than reality. We all have to cultivate our brand now. Being honest is less important than being famous. This is the culmination of forces long in place. My late great uncle lived well into his late 80s and remembered a moment when, as a child, he met, of all people, Edward Everett Hale. Anyone remember the man without a country? That guy. And my uncle, was a very small boy. And he said, the only thing I remember about Edward Everett Hale was that he had dirty fingernails. Which is to say, he observed the human, not the author. From a child's perspective, the two didn't line up. You mean this man with dirty fingernails wrote that book I read in school? It's the same as the woman who looked at me and said, "Is that really Fred up there?" It's the same as the little kids in the aisle, gobsmacked that their teacher was let loose from school to run about. We all have images of the people we see in public life, be they leaders or celebrities. And when those images differ from the person themselves, especially when they tarnish that image, we become confused. Now and then I've been known to let a foul word out of my mouth, four-lettered and everything. It doesn't happen in the pulpit. So when someone hears me do that, they are shocked. And someone looks at me and said, "And you, a preacher?" And I said, "Yeah." And when I say it, God's listening. But there was also a time when I was a smoker, and of course most people didn't see me outside the church. They'd see me somewhere lighting up and smoking a cigarette, and I had destroyed their image almost instantaneously. Yes, it is less true among Unitarian Universalists, but there's still a difference between public and private person, and it still matters. And let me tell you why it still matters. The defining thing about clergy is not how good we do this job, but how much you can trust us. That's it. You need to know you can trust me. And that trust has to be bone deep. And that means I have to be the person I look like and look like the person I am. For me to minister effectively, for any clergy person to minister, which is to serve, I have to know that I can ask any question of you, and you can feel safe answering that question, that you can trust me with what you need to tell me, and that I will be looking out for you at every moment. You're willing to extend that trust, not because I've been trained and vetted and licensed, though that does help. You're willing to extend that trust because I manifest trustworthiness in my life. My judgments and actions need to be irreproachable whenever I can be seen. That doesn't mean pure or holy or sanctified, but authentic and genuine and mature and wise. If I ever appear to be self-serving or indifferent to the trust you offer, I am useless, because my authority to serve you comes from you, not from me. I didn't walk in the door with it. You extended it to me as your interim minister. It is a trust in me, therefore I must be worthy of that trust. So no matter how polished the sermons, how visionary the plans, how effective the management, if you don't fundamentally trust that I am working for you, not for me, I am useless. We call this clergy ethics, and there's an exacting code that we all agree to follow. But just as the 10 Commandments are basically a summary of every other commandment in the Old Testament, the golden rule of clergy is be worthy of trust, which is simple but really hard to do. For me, it means that I must be your minister whenever you can see me. I can never not be that person when I am with you. What's more, I must never be other than the minister when I'm in public and potentially could bring, if not shame, embarrassment on VUU. Because you need to know that under every circumstance, I am thinking about you. Wow, that sounds tiring. It is. It really is. I always think about my work. The only time I don't think about my work are when I am in my own home, and then I'm still thinking about it. And when I'm out of the country. I haven't been out of the country for 3 years. I am seriously tired. As you approach selecting a new minister, let me say that there are no technical skills in this work. Anyone can do this. I've heard worship associates deliver great sermons. I am a pastor, but we have lay pastoral care associates that are tremendous. Dan is a great example. The day-to-day life of the church, the management, almost all of you in business could do it better than I. Shouldering the moral and spiritual duty of trust is what I do that you don't. Emerson famously said that the true preacher pours out his life, he wrote, passed through the fires of thought. And many of us clergy get the first part, I'll share my life. Frequently they overlook the second part, passed through the fires of thought. Yes, we are to share our lives, to be our authentic selves, but only in service to your lives, not to ours. You are not the people I need to lean on when I am in trouble. I should not depend on you to carry me. Yes, we are to share our lives, but only to the extent that it encourages you to trust me with yours. That fire of thought is what makes us ministers, nothing else. a willingness to subject all our thoughts and feelings, all of our actions and reactions, everything that Alcoholics Anonymous would call the searching and fearless moral inventory, all of it every day, to the fire of thought that says, is this in service to Valley Unitarian Universalist congregation? And if it is not, to shut the hell up. Keep it to myself. Does that make me dishonest? No. It means that I know where my duty lies, and it doesn't lie with me taking advantage of you. Yes, it is exhausting. And many of my colleagues, sadly, have dealt with that exhaustion unwisely. I've known far too many who've been through more than one marriage, who used alcohol as a support, who used members unwisely through sexual misconduct and other inappropriate behavior. I'm not excusing them from that in the least, but many are those who succumbed to it because they could not keep their duty in front of them and felt only the exhaustion. That's the reason we take time off. Because as I pointed out, unless I'm behind a closed door or on an airplane to India, I'm pretty much thinking about you. In a future sermon, I'm going to explore part of this a little further. But for now, I have one more story to tell, because guess what? If you can see me, I can see you. Early in my first pastorate, Wendy and I were eating at a fast food restaurant 30 miles west of town. Not because it was wrong to eat fast food. It was the closest fast food restaurant, and we were taking a drive out into the hills to take a day off. And I mean a day off by getting out of sight. So we stopped in a town 30 miles west of where we lived, and I'm sitting in my booth eating my meal with Wendy, and I look over, and there is a church member. And I think, oh, nuts. I got to go over and put on my preacher face. But I waited. Wait a minute. That's not her husband she is caressing. Quickly calculating, I decided to make myself less visible, turned away, put my head down. In time, she and he got up to leave, but she saw me. And so she heads over to me, putting on a broad smile. Pastor, I didn't see you here. And then she said, put this in the collection plate for me, will you? And palms a $20 bill into my hand. I was being bribed. No, I wasn't. I wouldn't have told on her anyway. Like a therapist or a physician, it is not my job to condemn the members, even when they are worthy of judgment. My silence was purchased by my care for her even then. And you know, after that, she was one of my most sincere supporters. And what's more, there were crises in her life that came up, and I was able to serve her and her husband and her son. I was able to minister because I trusted her and she trusted me. In the end, we clergy are just witnesses to your lives. Honored, privileged to be able to be with you in moments of vulnerability, fear, uncertainty, and weakness, knowing that we are blessed by that and that we are called to cherish that courage you show. If you hear an echo from my remarks a couple of weeks ago about the pastoral nature of this work, you are right. Everything in the end rests on the willingness to trust and be trusted one to another. Everything we do depends on that. The warp and woof of a congregation are lives lived in trust and honesty in ways that in some ways we cannot do outside this building or away from this congregation. Sometimes even in your own families. Of course, it would be my job to encourage you to bring that into those other places where it isn't safe. But this place must be safe for you to be you on any terms you wish, and to know that I, or whoever stands here, will receive that gift. We may give you some advice. You may know that you stand in judgment, but in the end, you can trust us with anything that you need us to know. The only thing I ask of you for your new minister is that you remember the great cost it demands of that person, emotionally and spiritually. I think if you look back, you can see how it affected all of your previous clergy. And what I would ask of you for your new minister is to make a commitment to honor their struggle to be trustworthy. Because it isn't easy. It isn't obvious. It isn't automatic. And you do that by extending your trust and your honesty, inviting that person, whoever it is, to be their best self with you. It's not easy for either you or for me, but that is the cost of being human. I think it's worth it. I hope you do too. And with gratitude for you listening today, for all that you have given me in your trust, I say, amen. Come, friends. I'm going to invite Katie now to help us move from the sermon back into our worship with a wonderful song, and let her introduce it. Katie?
Let's close with our hymn, Guide My Feet. It's number 348 in our gray hymnal, and it's an African-American traditional hymn from the collection of Willis Lawrence James. Willis Lawrence James was among a small group of African Americans who in the early decades of the 19th century committed themselves to the study of Black folklore and to the preservation of Black folk song. He began his work as a folklorist in Louisiana in 1933 and eventually collected all throughout the Deep South. Despite the objections by many to the oral traditions that were carryovers from slavery, James regarded these folk traditions as an important record of Black history in America. He persisted in his mission to collect and preserve the fast disappearing folk songs and use them as sources of composition and arrangement and within the choral setting. Like most of his fellow folklorists, Willis Lawrence James was an educator who specialized in Black higher education, having served at Leland College in Louisiana, at Alabama State Teachers College, and at Spelman College until his death in 1966. Guide My Feet is a prayer that many times is directly connected to the work different groups of people have to do. Black, Indigenous, and people of color to be sustained and keep resisting. Whites to do the hard work of dismantling white supremacy from within. This hymn is a plead for guidance, with lyrics such as Guide My Feet, Hold My Hand, Stand by Me, Search my heart while I run this race. Please sing or hum along, welcoming its history and message into your heart and into your prayers.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. race in vain, raced in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain, race in vain.
These words of Mary Oliver, I think, are suited to the day. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home. I saw some this morning. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Barbara, could you help us extinguish the chalice?
Please join me in saying our closing words. This stillness to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice and fill our world with compassion until we meet again. And so for those of you in person, you're welcome to make your way to the outside patio to chat with each other, maybe join the welcome circle. For those of you online, in a moment you'll receive an invitation to a breakout room chat session. You can accept that or decline it and stay and chat in the main room if you have questions about Unitarian Universalism. Thank you so much for being with us today.